This is NDTV. And you're watching Ndtv-Hindu.
Raja may just be struggling to keep afloat. His former colleague admits he resisted Raja's attempts to grant controversial licenses.
Gone through the whole of this AG report, but I can say that they have covered a very wide gamut of issues, and they have come out with very clear findings.
But the Congress does its bit of hand-holding for the controversial minister, says the CAG report does not have the final word.
திரு ராஜா அவர்களை ராஜினாமா செய்ய வேண்டும் என்று கோருவதற்கு அவர்களுக்கு உரிமை கிடையாது.
The state opposition is fiery over the matter, asks the Prime Minister to take action with immediate effect.
It's high time that the Prime Minister intervenes in this matter and sacks Raja at the earliest.
But as Dr. Singh remains quizzed about the trouble at home, he brushes off the responsibility of a decision to Sonia Gandhi.
It is not proper for me to comment on a subject which is also probably in the court. We are in alliance with the DMK, and that alliance stands as of now.
And there doesn't seem anything right with the proposed seating in MTC buses. Women passengers give the new arrangement a big no-no.
Middle ஏறவங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப கஷ்டமா இருக்குது. இறங்கும்போதும் கஷ்டமா இருக்குது. இத்தனை பேரை இடிச்சு தள்ளிட்டு போணும்ங்கறதெல்லாம் it's not possible.
Good evening and welcome to your primetime bulletin. Headlines now on Ndtv-Hindu. I'm Evelyn Matthew. Well, the week has drawn to a close, but the voices against the controversial telecom minister from the state, A. Raja, are only increasing as Raja's flight to Chennai has just touched base in the city. We bring you all that's been leading to the rising temperatures and pressure in the DMK camp this whole week. But before that, a look at the national headlines as well. Burma's icon for democracy is free. Aung San Suu Kyi is released after 15 long years of house arrest. Indian shooters bag 2 medals on day 1 of the Asian Games. Gagan Narang wins his silver. At the Hyderabad test, Indian bowlers restrict the Kiwis to 350. At the stumps, they knock off 178. And as the world watched as Harry spun his magic, critics blow hard on the first of the latest installment. Well, 2G has only spelt too much trouble for DMK's blue-eyed boy A. Raja with his 2G spectrum handling. But this time around, he has been nailed by his former colleague DS Mathur, who's blown the whistle on him. Mathur, who is a former secretary in the telecommunications department, has claimed that he did not okay the controversial decision to advance the cut-off date for processing applications for licenses that year. He added that he had resisted the minister's attempts to give licenses without first coming out with a transparent policy, and had put his foot down and said that he would not sign any files on licensing matters. Mathur is not the first, but joins many, including the government's auditor, who have held A. Raja responsible for grossly undervaluing the 2G spectrum and costing the government thousands of crores by choosing not to auction it. Making these startling allegations against the minister, Mathur added that A. Raja in the May of 2007 had told him that he wanted to award around 500 new licenses, to which Mathur said it was not possible because there was not much of spectrum, and if such a large number of licenses were given and the government failed to give that spectrum, companies would move the court. So rocking the parliament and creating a flurry among combative political circles, especially the opposition, in reaction to the latest allegations by MS Mathur. The telecom minister has said that the then secretary telecom was part of all the allegations and the discussions, in fact, where discussions and decisions were taken, and the note on the file was also signed by Mathur in the November of 2007. Raja added that the suggestions regarding assessment of likely availability of spectrum were also useful in arriving at the date of September 25th, 2007. And the chief legal correspondent with NDTV 24/7, Arunachalam Vaidyanathan, brought us the latest developments in the case.
Mr. A. Raja, the telecom minister, showed us the file, in fact given copies of the secret notings to NDTV, which clearly shows that Mr. Mathur was part of the decision taken from making the date from 1st October to 25th September. In fact, as rightly Mr. Mathur said, he was away from the headquarters on the date. It's exactly on 2nd of October, he was on tour. So when he came back on 7th of October, the file was sent to him and he approved that. Basically, this preponing of the date, that's creating a little problem. In fact, Delhi High Court also said that it's arbitrary. Of course, it was upheld by the Supreme Court also on preponing the date, how the government has acted arbitrarily in this issue. But Telecom Department has filed an affidavit. The case is coming up on Monday, which says we haven't postponed any date from October 1st to 25th. Of course, the last date was 1st October 2007 only.
Meanwhile, there is more support coming a calling for the telecom minister, and that while slamming Jayalalitha's offer to the Congress.
திரு ராஜா அவர்களை ராஜினாமா செய்ய வேண்டும் என்று கோருவதற்கு அவர்களுக்கு உரிமை கிடையாது. அழையாத வீட்டுக்கு நுழைகின்ற விருந்தாளியாக அதிமுக தலைவர் செயல்படுவது அவர் ஏற்றிருக்கின்ற தலைமை பொறுப்பிற்கு ஏற்றதல்ல.
Meanwhile, the state's opposition is pressing the Prime Minister to intervene, and that it should be right away.
The ex-telecom secretary, Mr. Mathur's statements, it is worse than the CAG report itself. I do not understand how many more evidences the Prime Minister will want before he begins to act. The telecom minister, Mr. Raja, has defied TRAI. He has defied the telecom secretary. He has defied the then finance secretary, Mr. Subbarao. He has defied the law ministry. He has defied even the PMO. And in spite of all that, and the clinching report of the CAG, and today the assertion by the ex-telecom secretary, Mr. Mathur, in spite of that, if the central government does not see reason, I don't know what's going to happen. It's high time that the Prime Minister intervenes in this matter and sacks Raja at the earliest. That is good for him, good for his government, and good for the country.
Now, while the Prime Minister has already said that the alliance with the DMK is intact as of now, and that the Congress High Command will take a decision on Jayalalitha's offer of support, he refused to comment on A. Raja after returning from the G20 summit.
We are in alliance with the DMK, and that alliance stands as of now. This is a subject which I am hearing for the first time. This is what the Congress High Command. This is for the Congress High Command, I think, to take note of. I don't know what Dr. Jayalalitha has said.
Well, hearing this, the opposition has hit out at the Prime Minister's continued silence. And even as the NDA has been turning the heat on Sonia Gandhi and her ministers over the 2G scam, non-NDA parties have planned to meet on Monday to arrive at a common strategy and collective stand on the issue. The meeting has been called by H.D. Devagowda, chief of the JDS, and is likely to be attended by senior leaders of the CPM, the CPI, the Forward Bloc, the BJD, AIADMK, RLD, SP and the TDP. Meanwhile, the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India is expected to give its recommendations on Monday, asking for cancellation of several licenses. Though the government is not bound to accept them, the move is important in the current context of the CAG report, since the government will be under pressure to explain why it has not yet acted. Well, up ahead on headlines now, mounted on a little box and waving to the world. Today came good news. Burmese across the world were waiting for 15 long years ago.